Do they have names?
Johnny and
Johnny.
Libby.
Oh, bye Johnny. Bye Libby. We are back with another hiking yap, and today I kind of wanted to talk about how I became an influencer and an outdoor content creator. And just to clarify, this is not going to be one of those videos where I basically tell you how to blow up. I myself have been on this journey for 3 years now, and I will say there are definitely moments when my accounts were blowing up, and that's what really just kind of like made this something that could be my full-time job and something that I seriously pursue. But overall, the journey has been quite consistent and slow. So I more so just want to yap about how I ended up falling into this position and given this opportunity. And with that, I guess some things that I wish I knew and maybe even wish to consider before just diving headfirst into this world. So yeah, let's get into it. Oh, and today we are in Bellevue, Washington. I wanted to show y'all something. It's so far away in the distance, but I was at this trail not that long ago, but for the last 2 days, we've been experiencing an atmospheric river and winds up to like 35 miles per hour. So the place is kind of obliterated. It's wet. I'm trying not to touch it. So how did I become a content creator, and to be more specific, a Black outdoor content creator? Last year was the first year that I made a respectable amount of money as a content creator, which is kind of ironic because I feel like last year I didn't get consistent with my content creation until the second half of the year. For those of you who don't know, I did habitat restoration on a conservation crew for pretty much 3/4 of that year, and that was full-time, 40 hours a week. So the amount of content that I was able to produce and also the amount of energy I had to even think about content creation was very limited, but I still made around 40K last year from content creation, which obviously I was super grateful for, and it's the only reason that I truly felt confident to continue to pursue this full-time after the conservation corps ended. Yeah, so now we are almost 3 months into 2025 and I'm still doing this full-time, and I don't see myself stopping anytime soon. And just to clarify, that is almost explicitly through brand partnerships. I am monetized across all of my platforms, but like I said, because I wasn't extremely consistent with actually posting content, it didn't really generate that much for me. And my goal moving forward is to be able to monetize all of my platforms in a way where that itself can be an income that I can rely on. Brand partnerships are great, obviously, if you can get a pretty good cadence in, but of course brands reaching out to you and offering you well-paid partnerships is not always guaranteed. So one of my goals this year is to definitely up my monetization when it comes to my platforms themselves. I was yapping away and now I'm lost. I didn't actually turn on any type of directions or maps. I felt pretty confident about it in the beginning, but now I'm thinking that that was a mistake. Oh wait. Okay, I turned off my map again. I'm just going to do this trail by memory. So yeah. Cute. I passed some horses. I wish I would have showed y'all. Sorry. How did I get here as far as content creation is concerned? I started creating content, I want to say around 2021. That's when I really feel like TikTok started to become what TikTok is now, because I didn't even have TikTok before I made my account around 2021, and I solely made that account because I wanted to talk about herbalism and share about herbs and that passion. And I remember obviously there were creators on the app, but I feel like it definitely wasn't the space that it is now, where obviously there's TikTok Shop and so many ways to monetize the app outside of the creator fund. And truthfully, I really feel like the app was much easier to navigate and blow up back then because there wasn't so many things being thrown at you. Even though the app was still largely for like micro trends and dancing, obviously, I still feel like it wasn't as fast-paced as it is now, and it was a lot easier to grow a following that felt a lot more personal. At least that's how it felt in my experience. But yeah, so that's how I started making content, and I actually had an account before the one that is my current account on TikTok. The first account that I made on TikTok, I was just very much in my head for the entire concept of creating a TikTok and posting online, because before this I was not an online person. I didn't even take pictures of myself. Like, it was just not for me. I never even really saw myself in a position where I would even want to pursue something like this. So I felt really restricted when I made that account. On top of that, there are also like certain people that followed me on that account that were close to me, I guess, at the time, and they definitely made me feel weird about posting online, and it almost felt like they were attaching themselves to every little success that I had on that platform as well. Like, whenever something would do really good, they would have like a critique for it in a way that made me feel like, I don't even know. They just made me feel some type of way, and for that reason I was really nervous to post and embarrassed even to post and like be myself on that page. So I ended up scrapping that page and making a completely different TikTok page in secret, which is probably the best advice that I can give you, especially if you're just starting out. Make an account and don't tell anybody. I know it'd be a lot easier to put that account out there and get people to follow you and, you know, feel like you're not starting from complete scratch. But I think personally for me, I always feel a lot more comfortable being exactly who I want to be on that platform, especially starting out, when I don't have the pressure of an audience, and especially an audience that may or may not be genuinely interested in what it is that you are posting about. So I completely started over with a new account, and I just continued to post about herbalism and spirituality because that was something else that I talked about a lot at the time. And to much of my surprise, it actually started to take off. I think another piece of advice that I would give you is to create extremely low stakes for yourself. When I made that account, the stakes were low. I didn't really have any intention of doing this full time. I didn't think that my content would resonate with so many people. I didn't think that I would blow up. And so for that reason, I never really had that much pressure on myself to be great, I guess. And for that reason, I was very okay with taking my time. And by the time that I really started to realize that I enjoyed content creation and I loved the community that I was building, I was already in a position where my confidence was reflected by my following and the feedback that I was receiving. I was able to take that and continue to push myself, and then start to shift into a mindset that was a little more serious about content creation and serious about making this something that I could genuinely do that could make me real money. And I don't want that to be confused with not taking yourself seriously and not being dedicated, because I definitely took myself very seriously when I posted online. And even though I didn't genuinely expect much to come from it, I was still showing up and posting as if what I was doing mattered. And truthfully, the only thing that kept me going at times were the 1 or 2 people that would say that they enjoyed my content or told me that they learned something. So I always paid attention more to impact versus how many views I got and how quickly I could grow my platform. But I knew this was something that I genuinely wanted to do when I kept coming back to TikTok and I kept coming back to Instagram. And even if I would get extremely burnt out and essentially fall off my posting schedule and lose some of that consistency, I always hit a point where I went back to content creation and felt how much I enjoyed making content, and it really just became a fun way for me to express myself and share my creativity. And yeah, eventually as time went on, I started to make more content where I was outdoors and sharing this aspect of my life, because content creation was the thing that I enjoyed, and sharing my passions and my interests was just a way for me to continue to have enjoyable content to create. It was really easy for me mentally and emotionally to switch more to an outdoor aesthetic, and I want to say that I've been making outdoor specific content for probably a year now. I still make herbalism content, especially on this channel and across platforms at times, but like I said, it was just something that I felt really burnt out making, and it just takes a lot to make that content and to make it safely and to be informative in a way that makes me feel comfortable sharing that information with y'all. So it was just a lot of unnecessary stress surrounding that passion. And on top of that, because I was making so much content surrounding herbalism, I kind of lost the passion to just craft and study herbalism for myself. I guess you could say that making outdoor content was kind of like my way of taking a break from that type of content, giving myself a breather and focusing on something else that I enjoy doing. And I will say, since making that shift, that is when I started to see a lot more brand partnership opportunities, and essentially that's the content that I receive partnership offers for the most now. I don't want to say that the type of content you make matters when it comes to partnerships and being able to monetize your accounts, but I will say some worlds are a lot easier to make good money in than others. I myself exist within the wellness and fitness world, and I will say it seems like these brands are a lot more generous when it comes to what their budget is, and there are just like a lot of cool opportunities. The most interesting partnership that I've done to date right now was probably the trail running collective partnership with Hoka that I had this past fall. This is the first time that I went on brand trips, and I ended up going on 3 brand trips altogether. We stayed in resorts, hotel paid for, transportation paid for, a voucher for any additional fees, food paid for, and of course we got merch. And of course I was trail running, so this was the first official time that I did a race and all of those fees were covered. So all around, I really just got to show up and do something that I love, and my entire existence was paid for on these trips. Not only was that a very eye-opening experience for me, it was also just really cool to be able to work with a brand that I aligned with so well. Not only did that give me hope as a content creator, but also hope that I can work with brands that I really align with, and I don't have to fall into a pattern of creating a specific type of content. Regardless of where I find myself at the end of all of this, I want to be exactly who I am now at that point as well. Maybe with a little bit more money, not gonna lie, but as far as what I represent, what I do, and the places I find myself, I don't ever want to change that. I just want this to be a way for me to support myself, to express myself, and be who I am. Y'all, I'm lost right now. I ain't even gonna lie. I am wandering more than I usually wander. I feel like I always say like, oh, I'm lost, like I'm wandering, but like I am for real wandering right now. What is making me feel better is I am still in Bellevue, and I know that there are neighborhoods surrounding this entire park. So I see a road right over there, which means as long as I stick to the trail that I'm on, I will inevitably end up back at the parking lot. So one thing that I wish I knew going into content creation, hold on, let me get past the cars. One thing that I wish I knew going into content creation is that this world is meant to make you insane. You experience such a high when your content does well, when your accounts are blowing up, when you're getting that amazing feedback, but that is not all the time. I think for most creators, that is not always the reality. And when there are points when it feels like you're still creating great content and you're putting all your effort into creating something and doing something, it can be really hard to want to continue to put out content and want to continue to so publicly fail at something you were trying to achieve at. Sometimes it's really easy to forget why you're doing it. I promise you, I feel like those points are the points where I felt the most growth, and I've been able to reassess and look back and see what has been working for me, what hasn't, and also take a break and not put so much pressure on myself to succeed 100% of the time. And another thing that I wish I knew, as much as I feel like people try to make content creation seem like it's played out and it's boring, bland, everyone's trying to be a content creator, everyone's a content creator, blah, 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 blah. It is not true. That is not true. And you will desperately need people that are also content creators surrounding you and in your life. And yes, this concept of content creation and content creators have been around for a very long time. But at the same time, I think it has become a lot more normalized in the last few years, and at least where I sit, it has felt extremely isolating to talk about my frustrations and experiences as a content creator. I think now, obviously, I feel very different about content creation, and I'm very proud to tell people that I'm a content creator and this is what I do for a living. I feel like I'm literally living the dream right now. I'm living my dream life. But at the beginning of this, when I didn't have the partnerships to back that up and the view counts and the engagement and everything else statistically that matters, it was very hard for me to talk about this in a way that expressed how serious I was about doing content creation. Another thing that I really think is worth mentioning, there is no place for self-doubt in this world. Yes, you can bullshit your way through a lot of this process, and arguably you probably can bullshit your way through a successful content creation career, but if you want it to feel good, you are going to need to trust yourself, and you're going to need to be very confident in your abilities to make content and to make engaging content. Going back to what I said before about my TikTok, when I finally grew that account to 100K, it didn't matter because in my head I was still talking to an audience of 2, and not in a good way. And because I largely built that platform when I didn't feel as confident about my ability to take content creation seriously and what it could turn into, I never fully gave myself the credit that was deserved. I truly think I wouldn't have felt so burnt out, and I truly think I would have stayed much more consistent on that platform if I would have just opened my eyes and realized that I was doing something amazing and whatever I was feeling inside was something only I was feeling. But that is simply my journey, how things ended up for me. Obviously, regardless of the mistakes I made in the past, I'm still here and it seems to be going pretty great for me right now, so I really can't complain. We are all allowed to make mistakes in our journeys regardless of what it is. So yeah, I've been yapping, so let me show you the views. My GoPro is on like 9% right now, so I need to wrap this up. I think the quickest way to figure out whether or not you can be successful in this world is to ask yourself whether or not you genuinely enjoy making content. That might seem like a no-brainer and obvious, but I'm telling you, it makes a world of a difference when you actually enjoy all aspects of content creation, not just the front-facing finished product that people get to see.
Jesus, I think
Do they have names?
Johnny and
Johnny.
Libby.
Oh, bye Johnny, bye Libby. When I am sitting down and I have edited the same YouTube video for literal hours, it might be exhausting, it might be frustrating, but I am genuinely happy to do it, and I feel genuinely inspired when all of the little files pop up on my laptop and I get to organize them and edit them and create something for y'all. To me, that is the most valuable part of content creation and a really good indicator that this is something that really aligns with you. I am in my head all the time about content creation, so don't let that stop you from continuing to create. 9 times out of 10, you're going to look back on whatever piece of content you felt shitty about and realize that it was not as bad as you thought at the time. That is something that I have definitely learned. Y'all, my GoPro died, so we're gonna finish this on my phone. That's what it is. But yeah, whenever I go back and look at past content that I have created, I am always extremely impressed with myself, and funny enough, I always get the sense that there was a point in time that I was more inspired, if that makes sense. As in, I look at all my past content with a lot of fondness, and in a sense, I always strive to attain the same level of authenticity and magic that I see in those posts whenever I do look back. I am one of my biggest inspirations, and I hope that doesn't sound cocky because it's not supposed to be, but I see myself and what I've done, and past Sydney is constantly inspiring present Sydney and pushing future Sydney to do more. So I feel like I'm going to edit this and realize there was a lot more that I wanted to say, so I may or may not do a part 2. That just depends on if y'all want a part 2. So let me know. Okay, pause, because I just got back to my car and I realized I didn't talk about the one thing that I really wanted to talk about, and that was my experience as a Black creator. So I will definitely be making another video because that's something that I genuinely wanted to talk about, and I knew I would forget something. I knew I'd forget something, and I'm just glad I remembered now before I completely left the park and I'm editing this, because I definitely have some thoughts as a Black creator and a Black creator in the outdoor space. Nonetheless, I'm kind of annoyed that I completely forgot to touch on that. There's just too much going on, but yeah. All right, back to the video. Oh my gosh. Okay, if you haven't already, don't forget to like this video, and if you haven't subscribed yet, you know what to do. All right, y'all, stay safe and happy trails. Bye.